Your picks give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, Bet River sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Welcome in everyone to Betting Weekly Live. It is Thursday, the 18th of September. You're with Steve Wyss and Lewis Jones, and we are concluding our opening round of the Champions League previews, best bets, props, and all that. Lewis, how are you doing? How have the match day number one treated you so far in the Champions League?
Yes, hello, Steve. Hello, everyone. Absolute pleasure to be here on this Thursday. We've got a feast of football to get stuck into here, haven't we? And I'm feeling the pressure a little bit, Steve, I've got to say, because I'm not normally on these midweek European shows. It's usually the likes of James Eastham and Nigel and Will White, and they're absolutely savage, aren't they? And yourself as well at these European cards, and always finding really good angles and good winners, and always watching along. And I do think there's very biased, but I don't think there's anything else like these midweek European preview shows that we do here out there in the sports betting world. So real buzz to be on, actually, and just want to inform the viewers here that both my young children have been in school and nursery today. So I've had all day to provide research and analysis on every one of these Champions League games. So there is literally no excuses for me this afternoon. So hopefully we can follow up what you and Will produced yesterday. Absolute excellent show with some brilliant winners, as always, from Will. He's a hard act to follow, isn't he? But we're going to give it a go, and I'm fully pumped for this, Steve. I hope you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. These are, very exciting shows that we do. I've got to tip my hat off to the whole team so far this week. There's been some great winners across the board. And like you said, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Nigel and Will were in great form. Let's go easy on Lewis here on the Thursday show. But a little bit of pressure, I think that's a good thing, I think that's always a good thing in life. Just a little bit here and there. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, isn't it? I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm not feeling my flowing self. So that's a good thing. I'm ready to prove myself here in these midweek Champions League games. But there's fantastic fixtures to get stuck into, and I'm sure we've landed on some. We'll land on some great value between us. So no problems there. We just need a little bit of variance, a little bit of lady luck to shine on us, and hopefully we won't go too far wrong.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at the outright market as well, because it was a market you were very successful in last season. You got on PSG at the biggest possible odds they were in the whole campaign. I think it was 18-1 that you got on at. It might have been bigger even.
Yeah, personally, it was 20. Well, just 22-1. I'll just add that in on the exchanges. But yeah, no, it was the price was available to the 16s and 18s when I was very keen to set the world alight with that PSG bet. And it's as soon as I got through that Liverpool fixture, it was actually a really, really fantastic, enjoyable ride, really, because there was little real worries I had, even in the final, when you're thinking, hang on, they're Inter going to show up. They absolutely obliterated them. So yeah, it was a really nice bet. So we're still got good memories of that, and hopefully we can find something else at some point this season in these anti-post markets. They're always great markets to keep abreast of and try and find something to jump onto. Not sure there's much available at the moment with the way the market is, because very condensed, very early in the season. But I'm sure as the season progresses, there'll be ones that jump out and teams that are sleeping a little bit in the market ahead of their true potential. So yeah, looking forward to following these anti-post markets as always.
I want to welcome everyone into live chat, or if you're watching on the replay as well. There's been the support you guys have given the show this week has been incredible. It's been through the roof. There's so many comments and stuff that, as I said before, on these Champions League nights, I can hardly even read out 10% of them. But promise you, I am looking at them all. There's some brilliant bets and suggestions coming in. But I do want to welcome in everyone. There was one really positive one towards you, Lewis, here. Real Brandon King. Great to see Lewis is back. Jones always knows. So there you go.
On brand. Love it. Cheers, mate.
Boost one there. Yesterday, in terms of the notable winners and losers, I've been noticing, actually, the biggest winner was Chelsea to score in the first half, $36,000 plus 133. Great bet there. There's been a lot of people betting on a team to score the next goal. And I noticed there was a great $10,000 winner in the Atletico Madrid to score next goal against Liverpool. Don't know if that was placed when it was 2-0 or 2-1, but that was at plus 270. And that is a market which I've not actually been betting on too much in my life, really, to score the next goal. But I've noticed quite a few of those bets of late. And, there is definitely, if you really like a team to score next, get on board because it's a really, really popular in-play bet. But I did mention the outright market. We'll touch on it now. We've had our thoughts from all the handicappers this week. Not a lot's changed really since the first set of results. Kairat are a bit shorter than they were. But in terms of the main teams, not too much has changed. We've got joint favourites across the board here: Arsenal, Barcelona, Liverpool. At the moment, Lewis, does any team stand out for you that it's a must bet to get on, or is it a wait and see sort of market?
Yeah, it is a wait and see sort of market, but I do think the price on PSG is still probably a little bit too big. Sound like a broken record really with PSG, but they've shown towards the back end of last season they are the best team in Europe. And although they've lost Donnarumma, they've still got all the key cogs in that midfield, and the probably strengthened a little bit of centre half with Zabani coming in that adds a bit of depth. They're going to have a huge advantage when the knockout phase comes, just because of the way they'll have their domestic league wrapped up, and they can focus everything on the Champions League. So I would be very keen on keeping PSG on side. I would be looking to fade Arsenal at those sort of prices. I think I'm just absolutely fed up, Steve, of backing Arsenal in outright markets over the past 3 years, and I'm not letting them suck me in again in terms of the fact they've signed a new striker and got a bit more depth. I just think that the pressure's going to be too much on Arteta this season in the big games to try and win something, because his job will be on the line. If he doesn't win anything this season, they're going to change manager. So I think that pressure will tell on Arsenal in the big moments, has done for the past 2-3 seasons. They're a brilliant football team, excellent defensive organisation. I get why people will be lured into backing Arsenal in this format, because they're going to be really hard to beat in knockout matches. But just in the big games, there's enough evidence there to suggest now that I don't think this team are capable of just going that extra yard and winning a big trophy. So I would be staying clear of Arsenal at the moment, and I'm not going to get lured in by them, Steve. I promise you I'm not this season. I'm just fed up of doing my dough on Arsenal in outright markets.
I think Ankur Katoki agrees with you based on his comment there. Welcome into the chat. I think Arsenal have burnt a few people in the last few years. They've looked, likely to. I mean, ultimately their trophy cabinet just simply hasn't been added to enough in the last decade. Full stop, really. But yeah, I mean, Arsenal. Sorry, PSG. You mentioned them there. Will White said yesterday it looked too big, and that was the only bet I lost yesterday, really, of significance. I went on the under 3 Asian line, and to be fair, PSG could have scored 8 or 9.
Yeah, me too. I was on the same bet, Steve. I listened to what your argument, and I had it on my notes for that, and I thought you made a great case just because of. I did think that Kvaratskhelia would be missing, which obviously made a big difference. But they were looking at the way they attacked, and they were
weren't they? Switched on. It was like they immediately Champions League. They raised the level of their game. The two teams, I mean, Liverpool and PSG. I mean, Liverpool should have been out of sight in their game as well. They just seem to raise it on the sort of Champions League nights. It happens with certain teams. You've got to factor that in. And I totally agree with you about PSG. End of the season, they're going to have the French division wrapped up. And that's why this year I'm a bit more higher on Bayern Munich, actually. I flagged them up at 12-1. They're now 10s. Still not fully sure I trust Vincent Kompany, but that's a massive advantage that they will have the Bundesliga locked up probably by end of March, start of April. And that can really help you around. Frank Linton, unfortunately, Kit Kat did pass away a couple of months ago after an immune illness. So you might catch my other cat come around. She sits on the pillow now. But for those who just watched for the Champions League show, that unfortunately did happen. We need to crack on with some bets, don't we, for the actual day? We'll start with the early kickoffs, and we'll go to Bruges or Brugge, however you pronounce this. How do you pronounce this one, Lewis? It depends which area you come from. Dan Roebuck would be Brugge, but I'm Bruges. Club Bruges, it comes off the tongue nicer. But plus one.
I was Bruges, and now I'm Brugge. Since I've become a team that I've had a lot of success with over the past sort of 24 months and so, I've decided to call them probably by the proper name. So Brugge it is for me.
I think within the city they call themselves that, but depending on which region of the lowlands that you are living in, then it can be called something different. Anyway, Monaco plus 185 dogs here, ties plus 260, over 2.5 goals. Sorry, 3.5 goals at plus 135. I have got a couple of thoughts in this game, and my lean for the match is over 3 goals at minus 114. It's a bit of a difficult one. I'm slightly disappointed Club Brugge aren't a bit of a bigger price, because I think I really would have been heavily invested in them. One of those where I was kind of hoping Monaco would be the favourite, Lewis. I've seen it happen before where I think Monaco are a bit overrated, full stop. But Club Brugge here, I think I'd actually lean towards them. But the goals is what I like. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on Brugge, actually. I'm just checking the price and see if it's how much it's moved. And it has moved a lot, actually, in the last sort of, I think even maybe few hours, I think. So the money is coming for Brugge here, which is not surprising, I don't think, because they're a very difficult team to put away at home in these Champions League environments. This is their 7th Champions League campaign from the last 8 seasons. They're a very experienced team now at this level. And obviously last season they were fantastic, weren't they, reaching the last 16 and causing some really big shocks on the way out. I think they beat Atalanta, didn't they, over 2 legs, and beat Aston Villa at home and Sporting at home. And yeah, the key to this, trying to just factor how good Brugge are this year, is because how much are they going to regress losing the three of their key players, aren't they? Jashari, De Kuyper and Taubé have all left since last season. So the challenge here, I suppose, is to work out how much they've regressed, I think, since the results last season. I think it's quite a hard thing to do with such little football to go on in terms of sample size. But I think if you are going to draw some early conclusions from their games in Europe in the qualifiers against Rangers and Salzburg, you'd have to be actually very positive on them. So they obviously won those games very comfortably, 13-3 on aggregate over the 2 games. And they're 2 difficult games on paper against Rangers and Salzburg. So they did well to come through them. And the expected goals data in the home games especially really was very favourable to them. Created 7.8 worth of expected goals in the 2 games against Rangers and Salzburg. So the key question here is, how much of a step up is Monaco compared to those 2 teams? And the market would suggest it is quite a considerable rise in quality they're facing here against Monaco. So Brugge went off minus 220 against Rangers and minus 143 in home matches against Salzburg. And now they're plus, what do you say they are? Plus 135 now, are they? Yeah, plus 135 for the win. So it's all like a 25% drop in implied probability of them winning. However, they have just lost 2 of their last 17 home European games. So looking to lean on you here, Steve, really, for your view on Monaco. You obviously would know more about them than me, but just looking at the league table from last season, didn't see much between them, Nice, Lille, Strasbourg in that sort of section, sort of 2nd to 5th or so. What are your thoughts on Monaco? Are they capable of going to Brugge and sort of being that superior team, do you think?
Well, the problem is I rarely ever win on a Monaco game when I bet on them. They're one of those sides that do you ever get a side where you keep losing on them, but you just keep want to bet on their fixtures? Often you put off, aren't you, if you keep losing on a team? But Monaco, the way they play, I feel like it should be quite obvious what the bet should be. Not a lot changes with their style. They're quite a high press team. Generally, you're looking at backing over goals in their fixtures, but they tend to win when I don't expect it. And they lose when you think they look to be in a great spot. So this might be music to Monaco fans' ears that I fancy them not to actually do well in this game. And James Easton's pick, of course, in the newsletter early in the week is Monaco Tino bet. It's not often I'm against James, but in this instance, I just think away from home. So a few mentioned the flight problems they had. That was well documented, of course, yesterday with the issues they had. Their plane turned into a sauna, effectively. The players having to strip down to minimal clothing. That I wonder if that's a reason why they have drifted a bit in the market. But at the end of the day, it's not like they were mid-air and issues develop along like that. And it's not like they're going too far either. South of France to Belgium is not the longest journey in the world. Maybe it will affect the players. It depends how sort of pampered they are, how particular they can be. I think this squad's sort of grown up enough to get crack on with the job. So I wouldn't think that's the main reason for a drift in the game. But Monaco, yeah, look, they've got quality. I'll say that much. But at times I do feel like they're overrated, Lewis, because they're a bit of hot air. They can very easily, how a horse has a flat spot in a race. this is Monaco for you. They can have a flat spot in a match when they look in control. So a tricky side to go with. Quite a few liking the unders here because of the Club Brugge players that they've lost, obviously, in the transfer window. But we're at a stage now, we're 3 weeks after that. And I just think in the Champions League, they've proven their quality, Club Brugge, in the last year or two. They're not to be underestimated. This is just a lean for me of over 3 Asian goals, along with the Club Brugge game. But that's my view on Monaco anyway. A bit long-winded there. But...
Well, no, that helps because it does sort of add to my case for being tempted by home play on Club Brugge. I think the price has probably just gone too far for me, though, in terms of shortening too much. So it'd probably be a lean for me here. I'd want the draw on my side at this early stage of the Club Brugge season, just to see how they're going to cope without those 3 big players. So I'd probably lean a draw no bet here on the home team. But it would not surprise me if Club Brugge just kept on doing what they've done in the Champions League over the past few seasons. It'd be very, very difficult to beat at home.
Quite a bit of split of opinion in the chat here. Some do like Bruges, some like in Monaco. It's one of those games where you might get quite of opposites. And I can tell you now, in terms of the breakdowns of the money on the game with Bet Rivers, 90% of the money is on Monaco. So Monaco have took the money, 58% of the tickets, 52% of the money is on the under. So that's a complete 50-50 market at the minute. So if you are going with the money, you would be looking at Monaco and under. Basically the opposite of what I've said, which is probably about right when my record in Monaco fixtures.
Seems like the market's a bit all over the place, really, in terms of deciding the true price. So in situations like this, the sensible thing to do is probably just back the draw that no one wants to be on. That's the price that normally drifts to a level which is the one that's overpriced. So maybe the draw is the plan. I think if I was doing a score prediction, I probably would go for 1-1 in this game.
That is what Tonya Tiger is doing. He's wagering draws in both the early games, as he did yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, paid off. Gineppe, this is where I'm coming from. Gineppe's right. I wouldn't go under in Monaco games often because the way they're coached, it's, history there of just looking to be expansive. So Monaco and unders are never usually on my radar. If they get an under game, it's usually because a lot of chances are missed. So, yeah, it's a tricky-ish sort of fixture. I'm a lot more confident about the other early game, actually. This is FC Copenhagen against Bayer Leverkusen. Plus 205 on the Danish champions. Bayer Leverkusen plus 138. Got an under goal line at 2.5. Set pretty evenly there. Both teams score yes at minus 150. I mean, Bayer Leverkusen's start to the season was horrendous. Erik ten Hag's era did not last very long. And the difference, it was night and day. Bayer Leverkusen beat Frankfurt on Friday night, and they beat them with 9 men eventually. It was a complete contrast compared to when Erik ten Hag was here. They brought in the former Denmark national coach. It's ironic how the fixtures work out, isn't it? He's back to Park and he's managed the national team countless times here at this stadium, so he's very, very familiar. But it looked to me, based on game number 1 there in charge of Leverkusen, that the problem at Leverkusen was Erik ten Hag. Is it as simple to say that, and can they probably kick on from it now?
I would totally agree. Actually, I think it's a really smart appointment. Actually, getting Kasper Huymond. How do you pronounce it, Steve?
I'll go with you there. It's a difficult one.
Huymond. Yeah, we'll go for Huymond. He's a very I like the appointment. He's a very good man manager from what I've read about his style with the Danish national team, and I just think that's exactly what Leverkusen need at the moment. With such an overhaul in the summer and the early problems with the Ten Hag, where he was very internally and externally disliked by, it sounds like, by everyone associated with the club. So I'd be quite confident here on him having a bit of an immediate impact. And as you mentioned, he already oversaw a very impressive, dogged display to win that game against Frankfurt 3-1, despite having 2 men sent off. And I think an angle here which hasn't been factored into the market, which you just mentioned there a minute ago, about Huymond being a Danish coach who is well aware of this stadium and Danish players, and just the whole that whole edge that he might bring to the table here. And it could be crucial in a game of small margins like football. I think when any angle you can exploit as a manager against the team you're playing against is something to really factor into your betting. And I don't know too much about Copenhagen, and I'll probably have to lean on your expertise in sort of the way they go about it in Denmark. But watched them a couple of times against Chelsea last season in the Conference League, and just looking at their results in a very condensed league in Superliga in Denmark, and doesn't really make me that willing to go and take a price here to beat the second, who are probably the second best team in the Bundesliga, one of the obviously top 5 leagues in Europe. And I just think this is the price on Leverkusen here is one to take very seriously. And he's actually drifted over the past, I don't know, it must be a couple of hours or so. So the money's coming for Copenhagen, and I think that might be a little bit misplaced, because I think Leverkusen have got the edge of having the manager going to back to his native country, where he knows the football. He knows probably the weaknesses of Copenhagen and the weaknesses of some of the players. And Leverkusen, when they get going, got very good at attacking players. They've scored 2 or more goals in 7 of the last 8 games in all competitions. And I just think they carry such a big threat with Patrick Schick up front. I really like him as a player. I know he's been around for a while now. I think he's actually pushing 30 now, and he's never really had a season where you think, wow, he's really taken it by storm, especially in European football, in the Champions League, Europa League, etc. But he scored 27 goals last season in all competitions, and he started very, very well. He scored 4 goals in 4 games this season. He's on penalties. So I really like the 2 bets here. I really like Leverkusen to win, and also like Schick to score any time. I thought they were both prices which I wanted to get involved with. So typical Jones way of approaching it here. I'd rather just be greedy and just combine both of them, because I do think they're sort of mutually inclusive in a way, because if one bet lands, the other one's probably going to follow it behind, because if Leverkusen are going to win the game, I would say Schick is the most likely goal scorer. And I don't think the price that we're getting here, which would be plus 250 on Schick to score in a Leverkusen win, that price actually might be bigger now. I'm not sure, because of the prices that have obviously changed in the last 2 hours. But I think anything bigger than plus 250 here for Schick to score in a Leverkusen win, I think that under sort of plays the probability of that happening. So, yeah, quite confident here. I'd make them an official pick here, Leverkusen. I think they can go to Copenhagen and win. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, though, Steve, because obviously you know more about Copenhagen than I do. But just from my own research and the way that I like what the manager can bring to the table here for this fixture, I just like the price.
Yeah, I mean, what was that? Patrick Schick to score and Leverkusen win. That is now plus 185 with BetRivers.
Oh, so it's been backed. Okay.
So I think it's more like, I think the goal scorer has been backed, not so much the obviously the Leverkusen price has drifted a little bit. But
yeah,
you're still getting
did look very big about, I think it was 2 or 3 hours ago. Look, so the money's obviously come, but I think that's still a bet for me around those prices. I think one follows the other one in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're still getting the best part of 2 to 1. Now what I'm doing with Leverkusen, I'm completely ignoring what happened with Erik ten Hag. I think Nigel put in the comments there, Erik ten Hag was the problem at Manchester United. The issue there is they've got 100 problems. Leverkusen didn't have quite so many issues. I think they realised immediately the mistake they made, and fair play to them. They thought, we need to cut our losses early here with him. They've got in a good appointment here now. He did a great job at Denmark, and I'm looking how I watched that game on Friday, saw how he set up the team, and he's setting it up very similar to how he did the Denmark side, actually, at national team level. And I always used to back corner overs in the Denmark national team with Hjulmand. Their actual national teams carried on that trend even without him. But so immediately I'm thinking corners again. So over 9.5 corners is at evens here. That's based on style. I also think Leverkusen may well dominate the game, and Copenhagen have been known to get in a few corners. And 2 players that caught the eye for me on the player props here. Probably my best player prop bet of the day is Grimaldo for Leverkusen for a shot on target at plus 117. 2 shots on target against Frankfurt. I mean, this is a guy who's been a monster in that capacity anyway. He regularly gets forward, officially listed as left wing back. I mean, he's like a left winger sometimes.
I'm surprised he's still there, actually, Steve. I'm surprised no one's taken the chance on him, considering the players that have obviously impressed and moved onto bigger and so-called better clubs. I'm surprised he's still there, because I agree with you. I think he's a really, really live player in these prop markets, always looking very live. I think he had 2. Did he have 2? He scored 2, didn't he, at the weekend? Is that right?
Yeah, look, that's the other thing. He's very worth looking at in the score or assist market. So, I'm sticking with the safety valve there, just the shot on target. Someone's mentioned that the other player I like here, Malik Tillman, Now, I noticed though he had 3 shots in the game against Frankfurt. Didn't get one on target, but he did score the previous week. So I think he immediately has been told by the new manager, get shooting. You're playing in one of the A mid positions. Get your shooting boots on. And he's minus 139 for a shot on target. Hopefully this time he can be a bit more accurate. So those are the 2 player props I like there. You asked me about Copenhagen. I've got them right and I've got them wrong at times in the qualifying. It is a tough stadium to go to. We know that. They can sometimes raise their level. The atmosphere is brilliant here. It looks one of those stadiums I'd love to go to. But I think with the manager for Leverkusen now who knows how to deal with it, he'll be able to pass a lot of advice on to his players here, not just about the opposition, but how to actually handle the occasion. So I'm actually quite pro Leverkusen as well here. I think it's the sort of match that they win. I think we get a lot of the player props along over the line as well. Because ultimately, let's be honest, on paper, this is still a very good team. The reason I downgraded them so much was because of Ten Hag. He's out of there now. So they go upgraded, as far as I'm concerned. That's how I see it. Quite kind of simple, really. But 66% of the money's on Leverkusen. 60% of the money's on the over for this game. Let's hope we can have a good one there in Parken, Lewis.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's there's I think all the angles that are standing out to me anyway. We're all pro Leverkusen, whether it be in the props markets and the goal scorer markets. Schicks, I think, is definitely a runner here at the prices. I think he is the main man for them. He's going to have started the season brilliantly. He'll be at the end on the end of all their attacks, and hopefully he can take one of them and send Leverkusen to a winning start.
I've talked Dave Clark into Leverkusen here. He's going to back him for a unit. I think the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm really thinking money line, quarter of a goal as well. Like your bet with Schick. He's been strong over the last year or two. We go to the later games, and we'll start with a really, really big fixture, actually, at St. James's Park. Newcastle against Barcelona. I've seen so many splits of opinion about this game, Lewis. It's bonkers, really, because Newcastle kicked off opening odds for this match. They were nearly 3-1, plus 290 with Bet Rivers. I look back, and that plus 155 on the money line. Barcelona plus 155 as well. Ties at plus 265. Lamine Yamal's been ruled out of the game. That can factor in some of it, but this is a huge move against Barcelona. Is it right? Is it wrong? I'm intrigued to see your thoughts on this game. I find it difficult.
Yeah, the move is extraordinary, I would say. Rarely do you see a price move like this with one player being ruled out. I mean, it's moved about 10% in terms of implied probability to what it is now. And I was trying to find out why this, obviously, just on the face of it, losing Yamal is an absolute huge blow to Barcelona and what he brings to them. But to move the market this much did surprise me. So I did a little bit of digging in terms of the games that he's missed in La Liga for Barcelona last season. And I think this might provide the sort of ethos of why the move has come, because in the five games that he didn't start for Barcelona in the league last season, they were winless in all 5 of them. And in every single one of those matches, they went off odds on to win that game. And this we're talking about including, they were minus 1,650 to beat Las Palmas, and they lost 2-1 at home. And I think Yamal didn't start that game. So there's other examples here. They lost to Atletico 2-1 without Yamal, drew with Celta Vigo 2-2, lost to Sociedad away 1-0. Las Palmas, they lost 2-1, as I mentioned, lost to Osasuna 4-2. So I think this is the reason why the market has reacted so strongly to Yamal missing, because there is 5-game sample size. It's not the biggest, but we all know how much he brings to the table for Barcelona in the forward areas. So can definitely see why the move has come. Whether it's right or not, we'll find out after the game. I don't want to really call that now because the market is so all over the place. As you say, I was really interested in Newcastle at the bigger prices just because of they're so intense and unforgiving at St. James's Park in nights, and they absolutely relish the tag of being underdogs. Just looking at the last 7 fixtures where they've gone off bigger than evens to win the game, and they're unbeaten in all 7 of those, and they won 5 of them. So I just think when you're throwing that into the mix as well, you have to give Newcastle a lot of respect. But the price is what we're in this game all about prices, and the price is absolutely gone here. And if the drift continues on Barcelona, maybe I'd be tempted to get involved because they've still got so much quality across the pitch, and they're going to take it to Newcastle. And it's going to be a great game, I think. So, the money line is a really interesting betting market, and I can see why the drift has come just because of those with and without stats with Yamal, but not one that I want to get involved with, unfortunately, Steve. We've missed the price, haven't we, on Newcastle?
It's still interesting. 91% of the money is on Barcelona. 93% of the tickets as well. That might have changed in the last hour or two, in fairness. 79% of the money's on the over. I've been looking at loads of comments in chat about this game. Adam Thompson, a Newcastle fan, believes it'll be 3-2 either way. And then there's several sort of suggestions along that lines. I know we've got a lot of Newcastle fans in chat who regularly watch these shows. And our man Paul Hughes, of course, is going to be live at St James's Park today. And follow the Because We Win Instagram account for some content from him there. I'll put it in the comments at some point. But you're a bit like me here. I mean, I've got a sort of a lean on the player prop for the fixture. You're looking into players as well. Tell us what you like in the props.
Yeah, there's a bet here I really like, actually, and it's in the Newcastle player shots market. I saw a comment there about any interest in that market, and there absolutely is one that punters should be having a good dig into here, because I think Newcastle the game's going to open up, I think, and going to see goals at both ends, so that should be open to teams, the players having lots of shots, and it's one of those dynamos in the Newcastle midfield that interests me here. Sandro Tonali to have one shot is -175, and it's obviously a short price, but it's just going to win, Steve. It's an absolutely huge price because he is the one that drives forward to support the centre forward in this Newcastle team, along with Joe Linton as well. But when he gets into that final third, Tonali, he is such a great technician, and he is very confident with his shooting ability. He's had at least one shot in 17 of his last 18 home starts at St James's Park. And just those odds implies of -175 here, it implies around a 63% probability. And I'd have it closer to 75% when pricing this market up, really. I'd have it around sort of -300. So I think that's, even if at that end of the market, I still think it's a really nice edge to attack, whether you're looking to put it into a same game parlay or just having a swing at that price as a single. I think it's a really nice price to attack because Tonali at home for Newcastle, really great player. He's going to be he's one of these players that seems to rise to the occasion as well, I think, on these big nights. He loves getting shots away. So him to just have one shot at around those sort of odds, I thought was a big standout price to me.
Yeah, I've just actually checked. It's -195 now. It was at the -175 just before we came on air. I checked. So he's been backed in. But still, that's the sort of great addition to any sort of same game parlay as well, perhaps, for those who don't want to be taking -195s. There's a player prop which I quite like here, which I'm not convinced about the odds either. And Bet Rivers, I think, have been very canny how they've approached the addition of Nick Voltemade to the Newcastle team. Now, I flagged him up on the Saturday's live show. I said, get on him anytime to score. But I wasn't convinced about his price. I said, it's still a bet just, but you're not getting huge value. He goes and scores. He's now -129 to score or assist tonight. It's the shortest priced of anyone. Now, I'll be honest with you, I wanted like +120, +125 in an ideal world. But I seriously rate Nick Voltemade. I've said it. I think he could become absolutely a global superstar. He's not just a scorer. He holds up the ball really well. He's got great feet. He can bring other players into play. And if we are thinking, the goal line is obviously really high. There's a lot of suggestions of goals. This is why he is -129 to score or assist. But if Newcastle get on that score sheet, for me, unless it's like ahead of him a set piece, I think Big Nick is involved. Again, I'm a huge fan of this player. The odds with Bet Rivers -129, it's not amazing, but I still think it definitely could be a consideration for those looking at same game parlays or even a straight forward bet. And there's another player that you liked in this match, Lewis, isn't there? Yeah,
sometimes these bets just make our job easy, I think. And there's one just an absolute standing out, staring us straight in the face here at +220 with Bet Rivers, and that's Rafinha to score any time. I mean, I think that's a really big price in a game where the goal expectancy is high. I've got it around sort of 3.7. I'm expecting goal expectancy to be in the market. Completely agrees. So when you can't find an angle in the outright goals market, the second best option is always to go and hunt in the anytime goal scorer market when you think a game is going to go over. And I think it just makes perfect sense to back the joint top goal scorer in the competition from last season, who got 13 goals, remember. I think to get a price this big is very, very appealing. And he's just improved so much over the past 18 months, 2 years. Very ruthless now and clinical in front of goal, Rafinha. And just looking at his average of last season in the Champions League, he was nearly averaging a goal a game, Steve. We're going at 0.96 goals per 90. And the additional reason I like this bet is that there's a little theory that I have about other players stepping up when another main man isn't available. And I think in Lamine Yamal's absence, I think Rafinha will want to take the responsibility on and take this game by the scruff of the neck and drag his team to a positive result. And they had a good example of this sort of theory already in the Premier League this season with Ismaila Sarr in the aftermath of Eze leaving Palace. He really took the responsibility in that game after Eze left at Aston Villa. And I know he always scores against Aston Villa, so maybe it wasn't too out of the ordinary, but he was absolutely brilliant in that game again. And I think there's a possibility that Rafinha just will step up his motivation and his output in this game, in a game that's going to be full of goals. With his scoring record in this competition, plus 220 for any time, was a great bet.
This is a fair question, actually, from Real Brandon King. And I know there's quite a few in chat who like Barcelona moneyline at the odds now because Newcastle have been shortened to plus 148 as we've gone live on air. Barcelona plus 163. At what price do you take Barca moneyline or Barca Tino bet? I'll say myself first. I've been bitten by Newcastle before in big cup matches at St James's Park. I'm not betting against Newcastle at home in these sort of games. Now, there's some people out there, when odds reach a certain level, they're taking it whatever. So if Barcelona, what price would they have to be, Lewis, for you to pull that trigger?
I would say anything, if they hit the 2-1 mark, so plus 200 on the outright market, then I'd have to seriously consider it. I think that would be my... And then the way that the market was drifting earlier, I think there could have been a chance that it might have hit that. It's obviously, what was the price with Bet Rivers there again at the moment?
Plus 163.
163. So if it continues to drift somewhere near plus 200, I think you have to consider getting involved, whether it be the money line or the draw no bet, because this is still a team that are one of the favourites to win the Champions League. And player for player, arguably in key areas, especially forward areas, I think they've got more quality than Newcastle. Really like Anthony Gordon and Ante Elanga, but give me Rafinha any day if you're going to want a chance taken in a big game. So, yeah, I think if it continues to drift somewhere near the plus 200, I'd be tempted to side with Barca. But just at the moment, as you say, we've got to respect Newcastle and you've got to respect the market drift here as well with the stats without Yamal as well. So I think we just need to tread carefully and just sometimes these games, when you've missed the price, you've just got to watch it, use it as a watching brief and just enjoy the game and try and find some other angles. And I think we can still here with the likes of the Tonali shot and the Rafinha goal. I think they're great bets to away from the money line.
I can't see Newcastle getting much shorter than plus 148. It just can't happen. Barcelona will not reach those plus 200 levels, Lewis. Yeah. If they do, I'd be absolutely stunned because then it is playing wrong. In fact, it might even go the other way now. Barcelona could well shorten in. That would be my prediction. Personally, I think probably about 95% of the people that I've seen have an opinion on this game today have come to the conclusion that Barcelona are too big already at this price. So that's going to affect the market, where it's public money at some point is going to come in to row against the syndicate money that's coming. It's going to, you're right, it is going to probably shorten before kickoff, but this market has been so mad that I just don't know where it's going to go. It's a really tough one to predict. And I just want to stay clear of it now. Now the price has gone as Newcastle. There's other bets to concentrate on that are still value, I think. We're going to stay in England for another tasty clash. Manchester City at home to Napoli, the Serie A champions, visiting town, and favourites Manchester City minus 165, Napoli plus 400. I gave out my best bet of the card actually on the newsletter, on the video newsletter on Monday, and that was Erling Haaland to score any time at evens. He was then. He's minus 118 now. I would still get on him. He's so red hot. I'm backing him against every team at the moment, apart from at the weekend against Arsenal. I think Arsenal will shut him down. But in this instance here, Manchester City, Napoli, I'm intrigued your thoughts here, because City maybe going under the radar a little bit in the Champions League, plus 900 to win it outright. An opening match here against the champions of Italy. But, maybe Napoli are going under the radar as well. I'm not sure. But what are your thoughts on City at the moment? What sort of state are they in?
Well, first of all, I just want to ask you a question about Napoli, really. And are they just the best of a bad bunch currently in Serie A, or is this team really capable of having a say in competing with the best of Europe? Because this is how this was the thought process going through my brain, and I thought I'd pick your brain, which is obviously more accomplished at the Serie A sort of landscape. So, what do you think?
My thoughts are the Italian, the two best teams in Italy, we have to say, are Napoli and Inter. Juventus are definitely nibbling away at them below. That it might be that Juventus become the best side, but I mean, my problem isn't so much. I think in domestically, fine, they're absolutely fine. But I've got a problem with the manager, which I'm going to read some stats out a bit later about Conte in the Champions League. Not very good. He's not a very good manager in cups. Full stop. Really. So that would be my biggest concern with them. But domestically, yeah, they probably are the joint best side.
Well, it's interesting because I do want to get with Man City here, actually, I think, at the prices, but I need to wait until the team news comes out because I really like back in Manchester City when Ruben Diaz and Josko Gvardiol play at centre-back. It's a little theory that they've come up with since those two have played together. And if they do start tonight, which they did in the weekend against Manchester United, I want to oppose goals here and back the under 2.5 goals line. So I don't think Napoli will score if those two will start. And Guardiola must know now that these two are the key to his season, I think, in terms of the partnership at the back. He dropped them both for the game at Brighton. They lost 2-1. Brought them back as a pair. They beat Man United 3-0, looking much more secure without possession. And just the physicality and the extra little bit of know-how and pace that those two bring does seem to fend off those counter-attacks that Man City can be really weak from. And just the data that is starting to develop about when these two play now. They've started 9 games together domestically since the start of April. Man City have won 7 of those. The only defeat being the FA Cup final versus Crystal Palace, which was a game that they dominated, but it just seemed like it was written in the stars maybe that Palace would win that football match. And in those 7 games where those two have played, they've only conceded 4 goals. They've kept 6 clean sheets. And now if you're adding Donnarumma and a progressing Rodri into that sort of defensive unit, I think you've actually got yourself a very good base to work from Guardiola's perspective here that could be quite formidable as a defensive axis. I think that Diaz-Gvardiol combination is so key to what City do this season. And if he starts them both, I think the unders here at the prices are a bet for me here. What price have we got the unders now, Steve? Is it still odds against?
Yeah, it is under 2.5 goals in Manchester City against Napoli. Latest price is plus 108.
Yeah, that's if these two play, we know how Antonio Conte is going to approach this. He's going to sit deep. He's going to soak up pressure, hit on the counter attack. And if you just draw the data from Napoli's games away from home last season, they only averaged 2.3 goals per game in total, and that's backed up by the expected goals figures of only 2.15 per game. So I want to just waiting for teams. If Diaz and Gvardiol both playing, I want to get against Napoli scoring in this match. So not quite there with Man City as a betting proposition on the outright, but I think they'll go out and just win this game 1-0, 2-0, and the unders has got a good chance of copying. Also, another price to bring up: Man City clean sheet is plus 150, which is the under 0.5 Napoli goals line with Bet Rivers as well. So that's a bet on my radar as well. But waiting for teams, just want to make sure that Pep does the right thing and starts Diaz and Gvardiol.
Nigel makes possibly a good point here. Foden back to form. That might be a rebase on the goal markets. He is 3-1 tonight for any time scorer. He does look fired up, Phil Foden, no doubt about it. That is definitely a factor to consider. Lozatron makes a really good point, and this is what I was going to mention about Antonio Conte's record in the Champions League is really poor. 15 wins in 42 matches there, like he said. He's been involved in 6 Champions League campaigns before. 3 of them have resulted in a group stage elimination. It's a different format now. He'll do well to get eliminated in this format, I think.
Wouldn't put it past him, though, Steve. Wouldn't put it past him.
Twice been eliminated in the round of 16. And also, the best he's ever reached was the quarterfinals of the Champions League. This is just not a manager that's ever done that well in Europe. A few pointed out that he doesn't have a bad record against Pep Guardiola. He actually has a winning record against Guardiola. 4 wins and 3 defeats. That's pretty good, in fairness. And that might be something sort of for an anti-Man City perspective today.
I'm not sure he's got the players to play the counter-attack football that he wants. I mean, Rasmus Højlund is just centre forward. We've seen him at Manchester United on the count in transition. He's not the most, explosive player in terms of his hold-up and his running. And so you need someone that's, he could be there to hold the ball up. He does that okay. But I just don't, McTominay coming in from the left, De Bruyne, I mean, they're not set up to counter-attack. So I can't, just from an idiot that doesn't watch much Serie A football, just looking at the players that are going to be setting up, that's not how you beat this Man City team. You need to be direct. You need to be quick on the counter-attack. And I'm not sure these Napoli players, very good footballers, a lot of them, McTominay's had a wonderful time there, but I'm not sure they're set up to really cause Man City a threat.
Well, this is the problem with the Premier League is so physical. That's why a lot of these players thrive in Serie A. They just don't come against the physical power of Premier League outfits. And, if you're right about that Man City, hopefully starting that partnership at the back, the more I'm thinking here, 1-0 City, 2-0, they've just got enough ability, a Foden bit of moment of quality, or Haaland finish. Then, I do like your angles there, Lewis, I must say, from that perspective. All the money's on Man City, by the way, in this fixture. No surprise whatsoever. 96% of the money and 97% of the tickets are on Manchester City. Still got 2 matches to discuss on the card. I'll lead this one, actually. Eintracht Frankfurt against Galatasaray. Galatasaray plus 190. Quite an intriguing side, actually. The Turkish champions. Hard to know where to rank them. Part of me feels that they could be close to the top 20 in the power rankings. We often have this discussion when we talk about it in the group here for the Insider, which I'll give a reminder about soon. Eintracht, no Victor Osimhen, though, today. That's a big loss for Galatasaray, powerhead forward. Eintracht Frankfurt, really well-coached outfit. Plus 125 favourites. For me, the best bet of the day comes in this game, and it is in the over goal line. Over 3.25 goals is with Bet Rivers at minus 112. Galatasaray, I've watched a lot of them in the last 2 years in Europe domestically, and all the matches are the same, Lewis. They go for it. They don't come in here to defend. They've got enough attacking ability to cause a lot of problems to Eintracht Frankfurt, actually. But they make a lot of mistakes. 4-1 they lost to AZ last year away. I remember that match. They totally blew it. And for me here, Eintracht Frankfurt probably will have enough about them to win the game. But this could be a shootout, a real thriller. Maybe something like the 3-2 that people have suggested could come here in the Eintracht Frankfurt game as well. And I think you've got the same lean.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely on your way of thinking here. I mean, this is just this Champions League phase is just set up for goals, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the goals per game data last season, 3.25 per game in the league phase, and already this season, 12 games, we're at 3.5 goals per game. And I do think one of the reasons is that this format is encouraging goals. I just think away teams, with the lack of jeopardy, now just go out and try and win games, because a draw is no good anymore. It's easy to sort of tumble down the table if you don't win games, and hence this is why the draw strike rate, I think, is actually very low since this the rebrand of this competition. And Diego Simeone said the same thing in his pre-match. Actually, he said this format forces us to win, and Atleti played, I suppose, a bit more gung-ho yesterday. I know they didn't really create much at Liverpool, but they definitely opened up a little bit more. And just look at the example of Arsenal as well. I think in the old group format, I think they draw 0-0 with Athletic Club on Tuesday. They would have been happy with the 0-0, but there is such a carrot here for winning games in this format. Teams away from home take more risks, and Arsenal went on to win the game 2-0 in the second half. And I think Galatasaray is totally on the same lines as you. They'll see this as an opportunity for 3 points rather than, they're not going to be playing for the draw. I think they're going to go for 3 points. So, like you, expecting a good game. Yeah, I thought the plus 115 for over 3.5 goals was looked very tempting, and also the Asian goal line as well, as you mentioned there, definitely a runner as well. So on the same lines, and I think it'd be a good game, that one.
Yeah, a couple of players to look out for as well in the score or assist market for Frankfurt is Ritsu Doan, the Japanese professional, of course. He's plus 175 to score or assist, and Bahoya plus 190 to score or assist. These guys are going to be playing out wide, and knowing Galatasaray, they just overcommit too much in those positions, and they could have a field day. Jonathan Burkhardt, the new striker for Frankfurt, it hasn't quite happened for him yet. I thought he would be really good this season. He might just need a bit more time to settle in. They do have the Batman, of course, at their disposal if they need him. Frankfurt, Michy Batshuayi, former Galatasaray player. He's not been given that many minutes so far this season. Could he be given a random start against his former club and score against them? That is an interesting angle. But there's ultimately a lot of offensive players on this field, even without Osimhen. Icardi for Galatasaray, he knows where the goal is. And I think this could be an absolute cracking game of soccer. Here in Germany, the breakdown here, 88% of the money is on the over line. Quite a lot liking Eintracht Frankfurt on the money line at plus money, plus 125. That could be quite big, actually, on Frankfurt. And 74% of the money and 83% of the tickets are on Eintracht Frankfurt. One more match to talk about before we sign off for the show, Lewis. And, we've got to start off here. Sporting Lisbon against Kairat, the biggest mismatch of the day. Bit similar to Benfica Qarabag a couple of nights ago. And we all know what happened there. Sporting Lisbon minus 12.50. Kairat are nearly 28 to 1 with Bet Rivers to win the game. The big takeaway is the journey time. It's a record, isn't it? The longest ever trip for a team that's had to make it in the Champions League. 7,200 kilometers. That is nearly 4,500 miles, over a 12-hour journey by plane and a 5-hour time difference in terms of zones. So good luck to Kairat here.
Half a day on a plane before a football match. All the best.
What sort of chances do you give them here? Because they have surprised a lot of people in qualifying.
Yeah, I wouldn't give them too much. The market is absolutely spot on. It's not really a game I dug too much time on, to be honest, just because you want to try and oppose Kairat here on the road. Obviously done amazingly well to get here, but in terms of their away form in their 6 previous away trips, played Celtic, Bratislava, KUPS, Olympia, Nicosia, and Kisvada. And they only scored 1 goal in all those 6 away games. So really wanted to have a look at trying to take them on here at any way I could in terms of Sporting winning to 0, Kairat under 0.5 goals. But the win to 0 price on the same game parlay is minus 150, which is an unbelievably short price. So not going anywhere near that. The way to maybe do it, if you're really keen on having a bet in the game, is to maybe Dutch the 2-0 and 3-0 correct scores for Sporting. Plus 600, both of those correct score lines. It may take a while for them to break down the low block, and sometimes these games can be a little bit fiddlier than they are on paper. So if you Dutch stakes on the 2-0 and 3-0, getting about a plus 300 shot on in your favour. It beats a very small stakes, I think. It's not really a game I'm too interested in, Steve. I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen, and it's hard to profit from, I think, this one.
Me neither. This was the last match I looked at today. I don't have a bet in it. Do you know what? I might follow you in there. 2-0, 3-0. On the correct score. That just feel about right, actually. They have been, I think they might be able to be solid for a certain amount of time in the game, Kairat, and they could tire in the second half. And I think after what happened with Benfica, Sporting Lisbon need to make sure they get the result. Like, they don't want to be embarrassed here. And, I don't think they'll be taking too many extra liberties, say 1-0, 2-0 up. Sporting Lisbon well backed here. Producer Troy made a good point here about Qarabag Paphos starting well. Could Kairat keep it going? It's a big game for them. There's a lot of money at stake, and there's a lot of pride at stake. So in terms of handicaps, I think is it plus 2.5 is the Asian handicap here. The goal line's 3.5, 3.75 now, and 2.75 on Sporting Lisbon. I would probably look at going under 3.75 if I had to, and plus 3 on Kairat if I had to. But I'm not really going to get heavily involved. Nigel makes a good point about this Barcelona move. And we said this. There probably has got to be some team news that we don't know about here, Lewis, to justify this move. But I've not seen anything yet. Because
I'm trying to think who could be out as well. It'd have to be someone like Rafinha, wouldn't it, really, to explain the move like that. But I mean, surely that would have been leaked out at some point. I just think it is your Yamal factor. I think is so massive with what's happened before when he's been missing. So I think the syndicates have maybe latched onto that, and obviously the Newcastle angle, and thought that the price was worth taking, and it's absolutely collapsed the price. So I'm pretty sure it's going to bounce back before kickoff once teams are out and people weigh up the individual battles and think, oh my God, Dan Burns at centre back against Barcelona. How's this going to happen? No offence to Dan Burns, he's had an unbelievable renaissance to his career, but still, surely that's going to be the line of thinking from a lot of people with this Barcelona price.
Betting Weekly newsletter. I put it in the chat there for anyone who's new in the chat today. Do sign up for this. It's totally free. 2 newsletters a week, and the Insider coming out tomorrow. Loads of picks in the soccer, American sports, and a Ryder Cup special as well. This is brilliant. One of the best free content newsletters that you'll ever see out there. So do get involved. And thank you, everyone who has joined live or on demand today. Really appreciate the 3 days have been brilliant. We've had so much fun on the shows. We've had lots of winners. Hopefully more winners to come, Lewis. I've got to, before we go, ask you for your best bet of the day.
Oh, I do like the Tonali shot price, and it's a very short price, but I think it will win. Tonali times over 0.5 shots. Rafinha to score any time also up there. And if these two centre-backs play for Man City, Diaz and Gvardiol, really like the under 2.5 at odds against as well in the Man City-Napoli game.
Yeah, my best bet of the day, Player Cam, is that over 3.25 goals. Frankfurt against Galatasaray. Second best bet of the day is in the Leverkusen game. Grimaldo shot on target at plus 118. For me, the third best bet of the day is going to be... it's Haaland. Sorry, Haaland is for me still right up there to score any time at minus 118. I totally forgot about that one. Those would be the 3. I went 2 out of 3 on those on both the first 2 days. I would take 2 out of 3 again, but hopefully a clean sweep. And Lewis, hopefully we can smash it out of the park today. Thank you so much for what was a wonderful show. Thanks,
mate. Yeah, always great to be here. And thanks for all the people getting involved and making it such a great community that we're building here. So, yeah, roll on the winners.
Dan Roebuck is back on tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live. Premier League show is going to drop in 4 minutes' time on the channel, so do watch that. As I say, thanks everyone again who joined in the chat or watched on demand. And also big thanks to producer Troy and producer John behind the scene for the graphics. I'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live. Take care and remember to gamble responsibly.